The barista hands me my coffee, a $7 cup of blended ice that has more caramel drizzle in it than any other ingredient. At this point, it's a milkshake, but I don't mind. This drink is a celebration. The love of my life, the girl in the back of my cultural anthropology class, looked at me today. We held eyes in an accident orchestrated by gods nostalgic for their own budding love. In that moment, I gained all the fuel I need to live with cheeks hurting for the rest of my life. I've been hard-pressed to find anything tragic in the world since she looked at me. My drink is overpriced and my gas tank is empty, and my aunt is 3 months late on paying me back for the loan I gave her, but how can any of it upset me? A beautiful girl called me hers in her gaze today. I've been reflecting a lot recently on the value of crushes as someone who has been plagued with quite a few this year, weirdly enough. If you're interested, I did a dating wrapped for the first quarter of 2026 on my TikTok if you want to get the timeline on everyone that I have been crushing on this year. But I've had quite a few crushes this year, and I've been reflecting a lot on this kind of awakening desire that I've had in myself ever since coming out and starting to actively date, which, by the way, like once again, has only literally happened this year. I have realized that I'm like really interested in getting into a relationship, and I would really love to be settled. I don't know, like it's settled down, it makes me sound like kind of old, but like I want to be in something committed and serious and to be with someone where we have, you know, official girlfriend titles, right? And that's definitely something that I want. And as I've been reflecting on this desire and then having this experience of like crushing on people, it's really easy, I think, for me to like walk away from these experiences that I've been having and to think to myself, oh, like if I have a crush on somebody and it does not lead to an actualized relationship, it does not lead to me becoming a girlfriend, that person becoming my girlfriend, whatever, then it is not useful. Then this was not a good use of my time, and this is something that I kind of have to take as just like as the inevitable what is it called? Error part of trial and error. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to go for many fish in the sea. You're going to have to, you know, throw your bait out there and hope that you catch someone, and you're going to not catch things very many times before you're going to find that relationship, right? But then I was really starting to sit back and reflect and ask myself, like, is this a good framework to have? Is it a good framework for me to sit here and think that every single romantic impulse or desire or crush or, you know, fleeting interest that I have in a person, that's all useless and it's all just kind of existing on the journey to the grander goal of being in a relationship. I feel like I have a unique perspective on the subject as somebody who is a lesbian. My whole coming out is like a whole other 9-part series that maybe we'll get to one day if you guys care, but like I said, I did not actively start dating women until this year, and I experienced a lot of really horrible internalized lesbophobia pretty much all of last year. I was like really suffering, having a really hard time, being super depressed about the fact that I was a lesbian, and it was a really hard thing for me to come to terms with about myself. I was just thinking a lot about the narratives that we have around lesbians being predatory, manly, mean, all of that, and starting to project that onto myself and think like, this doesn't make any sense. I've always thought that I was a nice, sweet person. I thought that I was approachable. I thought that I was kind. Like, how does this go with this cultural narrative that we have around lesbians? So it was a very difficult thing for me to internalize. And a part of how I was coping at the time with coming to terms with my sexuality was basically saying that I was just not going to date, and I was just going to be okay with like some sort of indefinite celibacy or indefinite singleness, basically. And this year I ended up getting into my first flings and my first time like romantically engaging with women that happened this year. And the first experience that I had was in January. It was actually like just after my birthday. I met a beautiful girl off of Hinge. It was right after my birthday. I shared a little bit of the story on TikTok as well. It was so cool. We both had place names, which of course to me meant we were absolutely meant to be, and it just ended up having the most phenomenal, beautiful experience with her. And I remember like we would go places, and one time we were like walking around LA and somebody said that we looked like we could be on a postcard, and like we just had this idyllic fairy tale of a time together, and it was very short and it was very quick, and she ended up, you know, moving away, and at the beginning we knew that she was going to be moving, and we knew that her time in California was going to be temporary. And so I went into it knowing that I was going to have this experience with a person that was going to be fleeting, and I walked away, obviously, like when she ended up leaving, we ended up having like 2 dates. The first date was literally 9 hours long in Irvine, and then I had another date where she took a train down to San Diego to come see me, and then I went up to LA with her, and we ended up spending 3 days together. And so, you know, 2 dates, but you know, we put a little bit of time in, okay? But I was just so into her, and she was my first kiss, she was my first time going on a date with a girl, she was my first so many things, and she was so incredibly sweet. And was she someone who knew me better than anyone else in the entire world? No. Was she someone who I had this, you know, huge, that I absolutely fell in love with and whatever in this super profound way? No. Like, you know, she was someone that I was just going to have the honor of like our lives blipping into each other very temporarily, right? And when she left, I remember being completely and utterly devastated over the fact that it was over. You know, I was just like mourning what it is we had together, and the fact that it was done now, and that like I had this whole whirlwind, this beautiful dream of an experience, and I'd woken up and it was gone, and I now had to move on. And of course I didn't know her very long, so like getting over her was not terribly difficult, but obviously in that moment there was a time where I was like really, really emotional and crying and upset about it. And the understanding that I had, that I ended up really sitting with after that experience, was that love is such a huge, 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 huge privilege. And being able to love people and being able to meet people, there's 10 billion people on the planet. It feels like a damn near statistical impossibility that you are going to meet someone. It is such a slim possibility that your life is going to overlap with another person's, that it makes it so that every single time you interact with a person, it is a complete miracle, and it is 100% something to celebrate. And especially as someone who never thought I was going to experience love, right? I was, when I was coming out and dealing with the fact that I was a lesbian and having a really, really hard time sitting with that and processing that, I thought that was never, ever, 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 ever going to happen to me. So anything that I got, and I'm not saying like I'm just out here celebrating crumbs and I'm out here celebrating the bottom of the barrel. No, but I realized like, oh, the whole world of romance feels so whimsical and beautiful and magical to me because of the fact that I never thought I was gonna be here. I never thought I was gonna be here, so I'm having a great time. But as I have been applying that framework and really going into the other experiences that I had, which is like this essay that I opened this video talking about or reading from, that was the story of a crush that I have, I was dealing with on a girl. Oh, Jesus. Whew. Getting a little flustered thinking about that again. It was a girl that I had a crush on in my class, and whatever, I wrote this little essay about her, I wrote some poems about her. Y'all, let me tell you something. I barely know this girl. In the essay I literally talk about, we had this interaction. She said 6 words to me, or I said 6 words to her actually. Are you nervous for the midterm? She said to me, yes, terribly. And I just sat there and I was like, you are so beautiful, I'm so into you, you're so attractive. I've been eyeing her, you know, for a while in that class. And then she just became this fixture in my head for a while after that, you know, and then she became my muse. And, you know, I was writing about her and whatever. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, like, I could look like I'm absolutely, utterly insane, like being so, you know, romantically in what is the word? Entrapped? I don't even know, ravished by someone, thinking about someone, whatever, someone that I don't know all that well and whatever, but this is just the experience of having a crush, you know what I mean? I like make this joke about how, in the essay, how I like sent her a telepathic message. Obviously I didn't. I was just really hoping that her and I were going to meet before class and like have time to talk before class, and then I got there early to class and she was not there, and I was completely devastated, and I was like, I felt like we had gotten a divorce, and I was sitting there like reeling for the divorce, and I was like, what do you want me to do with the kids? What do you want me to do with the dog? What do you want me to do with the rag and bone pants that we bought together? Those were really expensive. Like, what do you want me to do? I was, you know, really, really devastated about this. And I was realizing, I was sitting there thinking like, wow, I could write off all of these emotions as me being super, super, super dramatic. But then I realized, like, this is the entire point. This is what makes romance so fun and enjoyable, right? Me sitting there being completely ravished, I think that's what I'm looking for, by this girl's existence, becoming more creative, writing my poetry, feeling more whimsical and excited in the world, feeling better in my body, right? Putting on these outfits, clothes that I completely forgot that I had, that I'm now putting on and I'm wearing to class, feeling myself, right? I get to go through all of these emotions. I get to experience all of this increased whimsy and joy to be in the world because of this little crush that I have. That is the point. For me to sit here and completely disregard this entire experience, tell myself that it's not valuable, that it's not useful, because it's not leading to a relationship, because this is not someone that I wound up dating, because, you know, what X, Y, and Z, whatever issue, because it did not become something where we had mutual commitment to each other. How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense whatsoever? I am so much better off. My life is more interesting. Everything is more exciting. I'm seeing colors I did not see before, right? Because I have a little muse, because I have a little, whatever romantic interest, because I have a little crush. That is the beauty of it. And none of this, and this is what the ultimate point that I wanted to make, none of this time that I spent, right, waking up every single day at 7 a.m. for my 9:30 in the morning class, waking up super early so that I can do my hair the way that I want it done, and I could try on every single article of clothing in my closet, and so that I can make sure that I'm looking good and this, that, and the third, and you know, give me a new perfume and whatever. None of that was time wasted if we don't wind up being in a relationship. None of that is time wasted. And I really want to drive this point home, okay? Because it is so easy. You're going to get so many narratives telling you that because you did not get the relationship, then that means that you wasted your time. That means that this was a waste of your energy. But really think and sit in the whimsy and the excitement and the joy of liking someone and all of the fun things that get to come from it. You'll get the relationship. You'll get it. That's always a question that I like to present to myself as well, is like, every single time I'm really stressed about something, and then the thing that I'm stressed about comes to pass, and I realize that I never needed to be stressed. I never needed to be stressed. I always sit there in my lack of stress thinking, how could I have felt up until this moment? Like, I could have felt so much more ease and so much more joy if I knew that everything was gonna work out. And a lot of the times when I am stressed, I have it in the back of my head where I'm like, okay, I'm probably gonna be fine, I'm probably gonna be fine, I'm probably gonna be fine, it's probably gonna be okay. But I ignore that feeling, and I am stressed instead, right? And obviously you don't choose to be stressed or whatever, but I like sit there and I justify my stress thinking, no, but X, Y, and Z thing could happen. And then an X, Y, and Z thing doesn't happen. And I've been applying this sort of like thought process to relationships, knowing, okay, eventually I'll get the relationship that I want. Eventually I'll be the girlfriend. Eventually I'll have a girlfriend. Eventually I'll get married. Eventually I'll have like all the things it is that I am hoping to have in my life when it comes to like mutual commitment and a relationship and holy matrimony. I'll get there. If I know for a fact that I'm gonna get there, and I'm very confident that I'll get there, why can't we have a little fun in the meantime? Why can't, and I'm not even talking about like roster fun the way that, you know, our Gen Z selves, we like to really romanticize like having your roster and having your pick of the litter, like that there's a time and place for that, you know, whatever. That's not even the fun that I'm talking about. I'm talking about writing poems about a girl that I barely have spoken to. Barely. That's what I'm talking about. I'm having fun in love because I don't need anything to come from it. They say crushes are humiliation rituals, but I think they are a way to feel your pulse again. I am writing poetry about the girl in the back of the road, not because I am in love with her, but because it's fun. This is what is lost in the obsession with commitment and every romantic impulse needing to lead to an actualized relationship. Since meeting her, my life has gotten a lot more interesting, more artistic, melodramatic, sexy. Is that not the point? Is that not what makes love fun? I don't need her to love me back in order to feel like this is time well spent. Next time I see her, she might brush her back against mine, and I'll start writing poems about our future baby's nursery color scheme. Or maybe she won't come to class at all, and I will cover a 20-inch canvas in black paint and name it Morning. Either way, have a blast. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoyed, I don't know, this like style of video where I'm kind of like going through some essays and some stuff that I've already written. If you're interested in reading this piece in its entirety, it is available for free on my Substack. The link will be down below. And watch some of my TikToks if you want to keep up with me in the meantime. I feel like I got a really beautiful reception to my last video on my experience with the needy, and that has been really heartwarming for me to receive as well. So thank you for still believing in me on this YouTube channel, as I have been so flippant in the way that I've been recording. But now we got 2 weeks in a row that I've been recording, and I'm gonna go to Greece next week, so I might do a little like travel vlog. I don't know if anyone would care about that, but I think that'd be really cool. Anyway, that's it. XOXO, and I'll see you guys next week. And also let me know in the comments if there's any like specific videos you guys want to see from me. Obviously, I'm like kind of new to the YouTube groove, so I'm still figuring out how I want to do this. So yeah, I would love some guidance. Thank you guys. Bye.